Elite Facts presents
10 facts you may not have known about the Alien franchise.
10.
R Geiger. R Geiger was a master of his craft, and nothing showcases his talent better than his work and influence on the Alien franchise. For die-hard Alien fans, you probably know that he created some of these incredible practical effects and props. Well, when discussing his craftsmanship on Alien with the magazine Starlog in 1979, Geiger shared that the eggs from which the aliens hatch were made of some very practical materials. In addition to plastic, the artist used store-bought neon green slime that was an incredibly popular children's toy in the 1970s, as well as some real animal flesh inside. For the stretching tendons seen when the adult alien opens its maw to devour a victim, Geiger said he used shredded latex contraceptives. Yep, condoms. Think that's weird? How about the fact that the base of the xenomorph's head was created using a real human skull for the face? Yeah, that's pretty messed up to think, right?
9.
Weaver's involvement with Alien Resurrection. Much like Alien 3, Sigourney Weaver was reluctant to sign up for yet another bug hunt. Because of this, one of the early drafts called for a completely different character to return from the grave in Alien Resurrection. Because Weaver initially turned down the role, the script was tweaked to include Newt, who was featured in one of those early outlines penned by Joss Whedon. Cloned for her survival instinct, demonstrated by her time on LV-426, Newt was regenerated in order to track down the aliens for the company. Despite Whedon's attempts to push forward, Fox backed down when Weaver agreed to return. After reading the script, the scene that showed several earlier botched attempts at cloning piqued her interest.
8.
Oscar nominations for Aliens. So back in the 1970s and 80s, it was incredibly rare to see a horror film get any Oscar nominations. That luxury was usually saved for drama and action films. Well, Aliens broke the mold, as the film was nominated for several Academy Awards, the most prominent being Weaver's nod for Best Actress, the first such nod for a sci-fi or action film. She lost to Marlee Matlin, by the way. Weaver hadn't even been signed up for the sequel when James Cameron began to write his script. Everyone just assumed that she was already on board. When she asked for a significant payday, Fox initially told Cameron to proceed without the character of Ripley. After they finally agreed to pay her fee, Weaver was initially disturbed by the film's militaristic tone. At the time, she said, quote, "It's hard for me, morally, to justify being in a movie with so many guns. I give money to anti-gun legislation. I never even go to see movies with guns." But she proceeded nonetheless.
7.
Alien 3 development hell. So let's face it, Alien 3 didn't really need to be made. The film wasn't awful, but it certainly didn't do the series any justice. It was a fun film to watch, but it was also a huge mess. But not as much of a mess as that abomination known as Alien Resurrection. One of the reasons for this is the fact that the development of this film was a nightmare, as it was littered with nothing but drama. The drama didn't stop once the film secured Fincher as director. He clashed constantly with the studio, and the film went more than 20 days over schedule. Initially scheduled for Easter of 1990 under a previous director, it was then bumped to the summer of 1991, then Christmas of that year, and then all the way to Memorial Day of 1992. The final budget was a whopping, for the time, $50 to $60 million. Fincher was given 8 days of reshoots. Then, at the very last minute, mere weeks before the film was slated to finally come out, it was decided that the ending should be tweaked. A piece written for the Chicago Tribune in 1992 said, quote, "The missing ingredient turned out to be 6 more seconds, drawn from the original script and shot at a price estimated at $500,000. Several sequences were cut from the film, including an opening that saw Ripley discovered on an oily beach, a scene where a creature bursts out of a giant ox, and an entire subplot involving the character Golik, played by Paul McCann, worshipping and then releasing the trapped xenomorph."
6.
Sigourney Weaver refused guns and her hair. Part of the reason why Alien 3's penal colony has no firearms is down to Weaver, who, after working on the gun-heavy Aliens, insisted that all traces of guns be removed from the script. The reason for this is due to the simple fact that Weaver just hates guns in general, which is somewhat ironic considering the roles she's taken. But hey, good on her for sticking to her guns. Well, no pun intended. One aspect she was fine with was Ripley's hairless dome, shaving her head several times a week during the main shoot to keep it consistent for continuity purposes. When production geared up in Los Angeles after a lengthy hiatus, she was reluctant to remove her peach fuzz unless an additional chunk was added to her salary, so props created a bald cap.
5.
On-set mutiny almost happened during the production of Aliens. So if you thought the drama behind the scenes of Alien 3 was bad, well, Aliens wasn't all perfect behind the scenes either. The film was shot at England's historic Pinewood Studios, which provided its own unionized crew members for productions using the facilities. Some of these workers resented the 14-hour days and having no idea what James Cameron was capable of, as the Terminator hadn't opened yet, leaving his ability to direct questionable, and they thought he was in over his head. In particular, the first assistant director thought he should be directing Aliens. He mocked Cameron, called him governor, and rolled his eyes at him, and got himself fired for insubordination. The new first assistant director behaved respectfully, and things were better after that.
4.
Wooden Planet. Screenwriters Vincent Ward and John Fasano's untapped work on Alien 3 is perhaps the most well-known. Set on a wooden monastery satellite planet called Arceron, their script was populated by an order of monks who had rejected all forms of modern technology. As producer David Geiger pointed out later, they could never explain how the wood got there and why it hadn't rotted. Additional technical errors involved an oxygen sac surrounding the planet, allowing the monks to spot Ripley's descending escape pod. Ward and Fasano were just two of the many screenwriters who tackled earlier drafts. William Gibson's 1987 screenplay involved Hicks and Bishop battling xenomorphs on a space station, while Eric Red's scuppered all survivors and brought in a new character to battle the beasts.
3.
Meryl Streep's head. While planning and creating the opening sequence of Alien 3, Alec Gillis and Tom Woodruff required a prosthetic cast of Weaver's head to depict the facehugger affixed to her face. Unfortunately, they were unable to create one in time. However, they were able to secure a suitable stand-in from the Fox archives, taken of Meryl Streep during production of Death Becomes Her. And that's not her only brush with the series. Streep was scheduled to audition for the role of Ripley, but had to pull out at the last minute.
2.
Hicks was completely different. So, did you know that Hicks was going to be played by Ajax from The Warriors? That's right, James Remar landed the role of Corporal Dwayne Hicks and underwent the extensive Marines training along with his fellow grunts in preparation. Unfortunately, however, only 2 weeks into the shoot, Remar left the production due to creative differences or personal reasons. He exited the film, leaving James Cameron and his producers in a tight spot. Due to their positive experience working with him on The Terminator, Cameron and Gail Ann Hurd called up Michael Bain back in the United States. The film was shooting in London, to see if he was interested. He said yes on a Friday, flew out on Saturday, and started shooting on Monday. Even though the role of Hicks was recast and all of Remar's scenes were reshot to include Michael Bain, one shot of Remar does remain in the movie. When the Marines first entered the compound, the background featured a highly detailed matte painting that had since been destroyed. Too expensive to recreate once Bain arrived, they simply kept the shot in along with the sight of Remar's back.
1.
The original vision for the franchise. David Fincher fought with Fox for control of Alien 3, a battle he eventually lost, giving up the final cut to studio heads. The theatrical print released and widely considered canon, a mere hint at what he had planned. On the Alien Anthology release, the assembly cut, edited by box set producer Charles de Lauzirika from Fincher's notes, presents a completely different film as opposed to the standard director's cut. An entire subplot excised from the main version has Ripley and the convicts successfully trap the beast, only for Golic, who is curiously absent from the theatrical cut from this point on, to set it free. That's the tip of the iceberg. Additional scenes include a different host for the beast, an ox named Babe.
Don't forget to like us and subscribe for more elite facts.